Hello everyone, and welcome to the MagM Coloring Book Tutorials. We will be exploring the different coloring techniques you can use to bring your pencil crayon skills to the next level. You're going to need a set of pencil crayons. I suggest a set of 24 or more in order to give you the best variety in color, and of course a handy dandy sharpener. Gotta keep those pencils sharp. Today we are going to be going over the cyberpunk drawing page. The reason I made this page is to show you how to color in neon lights. Coloring neon lights can be intimidating, but it's much simpler than you think. It's all about the order in which you do things and building up the color slowly. Unlike the other pages, you are going to need a white paint pen or gel pen because you need pure white to finish the drawing at the end. But first, let's pick our colors. I'm a bit of a crazy person, so I want this drawing to be full of neon lights. And I like blue, pink, yellow, and green neons, so I've picked one of each color. I don't need multiple tones for this one, just one tone for each neon. I am, however, going to take 3 additional tones of pink for my hair. For the octopus, I'm going to choose 3 different types of gray, and I want it to look a bit more like a steel octopus. I'm going to pick a pale, mid-tone, and dark tone for the grays. For the microchips, I've decided to pick a dark forest green to create that contrast, and one paler one just for the transitioning. I've picked a red beige for the lightest skin tone, and a slightly darker shade called cinnamon for my mid-tones. For the full background, I've picked a mid-tone blue and a navy blue. I'm also going to have my white, sepia, and black pencils for shadows and highlights. Now that my colors are picked, let's get coloring. I'm going to start by marking out my drawing by covering the drawing with a light coloring layer. However, when it comes to the neons, I'm going to color inside the lines to define the tubes, but also about 2 millimeters outside of the tubes, as this is going to be filled by the light emanating from the neon lights themselves. If it's your first time doing neons, I suggest you color the neons first, then fill the rest with the respective colors. When I'm filling out the hair, however, I'm going to use these long lines instead of doing it a full section. I want to leave some white emanating through. This will help me later on the hair texture. Then I fill the pale gray for the octopus until every section is filled. I'm still not sure what to fill the eyes with, so I'm going to leave it blank for now. This is because I'm wanting a color that won't interfere with the neon lights, as I want them to be reflected in the eyes. So that's why I'm going to figure that out a little bit later. Now that my base color is filled, I'm going to start by building up the color. I start at the top and will work my way down. Usually I work one color at a time, but for neons, you need to work them all at the same time. So section by section, I'm going to darken my colors, working in my background first, working from where the lightest point to my darkest point, which will be either between 2 light sources or at the point furthest away from the light source. I start with my paler blue, pressing very lightly, going from the yellow, only a little bit inside the yellow, pressing harder and harder as I move away from the light source. I then go back into the background using the darkest blue and start from the center, working my way out, pressing hard in the center and pressing lighter and lighter as I get closer to the light source. I don't want to cover the whole section, just enough for the blue to have a little bit of dimension in the center. For the neons, I'm going to start with the center of the tube pressing hard, making sure that the color is saturated in the center. Once I follow the colors outside the tube, I start pressing lighter and lighter into the navy blue, blending my background and my light source together. With the amount of items I've decided to make neon, this is becoming to be a very tedious background, but I know that it'll be worth it in the end. As to what is neon, that's up to you. This is just my take on it. I'm going to finish the whole background first, and then make sure that everything in the background matches. I leave the microchips to the very end, and once they are colored in, I move on to the foreground. I still have more to do with the background for the neon effect, however, the last highlights will be done at the very end. For now, let's move on to the face. I'll start with the mask, working very similarly that I did to the background, working with the lightest blue lightly where the pink neon starts and pressing harder as I move away from it. Using my dark blue to darken the spots furthest away from the light source. However, on the front of the face, I want to leave the color very light and almost non-existent. The reason for this is I'm going to add reflections from the neons around the character. From the bridge of the nose to the chin, I'm going to add colors of the neon lights which would cross the face, also remembering that my blue neon of the octopus would leave a reflection on the mask. So working from the bridge of the nose, I add reflections going from green to green again, to blue again, to yellow, and then green just at the under chin. I then work in the pink neon in the mask the same way we did the background, pressing hard in the tube section and pressing lighter as I get to the exterior of the tube fading out. Before I continue with the face, I'm going to add a pink reflection right now in the octopus tentacle directly opposite the mask to help me not forget it later on. I'm then going to add the reflections in the hair and the eyebrows so as to not forget it when I color those sections as well. I can now work on the face. I start with the dark cinnamon color to determine my shadows first, keeping in mind that the hair will cast shadows underneath and under the eyebrows as well will be a little bit darker. Anywhere where there's a crease in the eyes will also have a shadow, so I define those sections as well. Don't forget the ears and the folds which cause shadows in the ears as well. I then switch to my white to add the highlighted sections, which means the sections of the skin I want to be paler, and cover those sections with white. After the white is applied, I apply a peach color to blend in my shadows and highlights to the pink when I get close to the neon to make sure the neon blending into the skin. I will go back to refine the skin later once the image is more completed, so I know better where I need to adjust my colors. So for now, let's move on to the hair. When I do hair, I start with the darker colors, creating long strokes that seem to come from the top of the head. I layer the hair colors, imagining that I'm drawing each strand of hair with dark colors. I cover the whole hair with the mid-tone pink and go back in with the darkest shade to refine the shadows, and in fact, I also go in with using my navy blue in the hair in order to deepen the pink back into the hair. Navy blues, browns, and purples are great for darkening colors. Black can sometimes make things too dark, which is why I don't usually use it. If only my high school teacher could see me now. She had been trying to get me to understand this all throughout my high school years. Thanks for the lesson, Miss Carolyn Elliott. It finally sunk in. I continue building up the layers of colors using my pinks and long strokes, and at times bringing in my white to add some highlights near the top or the front of the hair. I do this until the hair is at my satisfaction. With all the bright colors in this drawing done, I need to add some darkness in the eyes. This is so the reflections will pop. I fill in the eyes using navy, leaving space for the blue, green, and yellow neon colors to be reflected. I go about it loosely, thinking about the fact that the eye is a rounded shape, so the reflections tend to follow that shape. Then I head back in with my pink to finish off the eyebrows, making sure I don't forget that blue reflection I had earlier. I go back into the face and define the shapes that seem to have been lost since coloring in the hair, just to bring them back out. Then I head to the octopus. I go section by section, blending in the grays and blues, much like I did in the other neons, concentrating my dark grays in the center between two neon light sources, and slowly getting lighter until I reach the blue. For the blues, pressing harder in the neon tubes and then lightly blending it into the grays. I also make sure to make room for any highlights from any of the neons from the background to be reflected onto the octopus. I use my judgment where I should go. Now, the body of the octopus. I keep in mind that this is a rounded object. So building up my grays slowly, starting from midtones, not touching the edges to allow for reflections, I start darkening my image. Once I have my base color in, I put in the highlights so I don't forget them, blending it into the grays next to them. And I darken the areas which I believe are turning away from the front of the image. That is because objects closer to the front are always lighter than the ones further away. I continue working through the body, building up the grays until the whole octopus is covered, and then touching up the areas I might not be satisfied with. Once my drawing is fully colored, it's time for me to do the final steps, which is the white. Using the white paint pen, I go in and draw a white line at the center of every single neon tube, so that each neon has a bright white center. This is what makes the neons look neons. That white core is the key to all the things that coming together. Once all the white lines are done, I color the frame with a rich black color to make things pop. And voila! Neon coloring. I hope you had fun, and I hope this helps your coloring knowledge grow. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope this brings your coloring skills to the next level. Remember to have fun with your coloring, and remember where your light source is. Please share your finished drawing on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or TikTok using the hashtag MAGAMColoring2022. And with that, we will see you next time. Happy coloring!